Good morning, guys. I am here. Sorry, the date is wrong on this slide. I'll change that date. But with our reading lesson for this week, and this week we're going to be doing something that is very much like review. We've covered it before in class, but we're going to be comparing stories. So the first story I pulled up is Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And we're familiar with this. Goldilocks is walking through the forest. She comes upon the house. And you guys can read this, but it says she tried one bowl of porridge. It was much too hot. She tried the second bowl of porridge, which was much too cold. Finally, she tried the smallest bowl of porridge, which was just right. Then she wanted to relax, so she sat in a chair. First, it was a tall chair. It was too hard. Then she sat in a medium-sized chair, but it was too soft. Lastly, she sat in a small chair, and it was just right. After she sat for a little bit, she decided that she needed to sleep. And so she tried the big bed, and it was too hard. She tried the medium-sized bed, but it was too soft. And she tried the small bed, and she fell fast asleep because it was perfect. But when she woke up, she was looking at the huge bears. So that's a story that we're pretty familiar with as readers, especially since we just earlier in the year completed a fairy tale unit. So if we look at the next story, it's called Ginger and the Three Bikes. It says one summer day, Ginger was walking through the city to her apartment. I'm noticing we already have a change in setting. Her legs grew too tired to walk, so she sat down on the sidewalk. To her right, she saw three bikes. One of the three bikes was huge and blue, so she tried that one. But the gears were too tight, she could barely reach the pedals. She brought it back and tried the next bike. It was purple and medium sized, but the brakes and gears were way too loose. Ginger thought she was going to crash the bike, so she brought that one and tried the third bike. She hopped on the pink bike, and it was a perfect fit for her. It was the perfect size, and it wasn't too hard to ride. But when she got around the corner, her instincts, right, that's her brain telling her this was wrong. No matter how tired she was of walking, she realized that this was stealing, and she turned around and returned the pink bike. So when we compare and contrast stories, we want to talk about things that are the same and things that are different. So comparing is where you talk about the things of both stories that are the same. In both stories, we had a main character who was a girl. They both had a name that started with G, and they both took or used something that didn't belong to them. They were walking and they were looking for rest. They grew tired, okay? Then when we contrast, we want to talk about things that are different. So one character was called Goldilocks and the other was called Ginger. One of them sat in chairs and ate porridge, right, and slept in a bed, while the other stole or borrowed some bikes. What the main difference in the ends of these stories is that when Ginger realizes and thinks about taking the bike, she realizes that it's taking something that doesn't belong to you is called stealing and that it's wrong. While Goldilocks was perfectly fine sleeping in the bear's bed until she was confronted by the bears. So when we compare and contrast stories, guys, we've done this a lot. So I know this is a review lesson, but we're just going to talk about when we compare things that are the same and when we're contrasting stories, things that are different, okay? Here's your chart right here where we got compare and contrast, okay? If you need that to remember what compare and contrast mean. And then you guys have got some independent work in your packet listed right here, right? So please contact your teacher if you have any questions. And I look forward to seeing the work that you guys submit. Thanks.